Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. When I was 25, we found out that my father had been cheating on my mother for years, and he had a 7-year-old daughter with his mistress. In one split second, the happy family I knew was gone, and I went through the darkest time in my life. My parents divorced, and per their prenup, my mother walked away with most of their assets, since she also contributed more to the family income. She never forgave my dad for what he did and never talked to him again, though she grudgingly allowed me to have whatever relationship I wanted to have with him. I eventually forgave my dad, mostly because I was tired of carrying so much anger and hurt in my heart. I talked to him, but I want nothing to do with his mistress or my half-sister. My mother died last year and left me everything: her money, her real estate assets, and her business, which I now own and operate. I'm in a relatively comfortable financial position. While my dad is getting by, he was never a good businessman on his own and lost a lot of his money on businesses that later went belly up. This year, my half-sister was diagnosed with a life-threatening sickness, and she has been in the hospital for the last 4 months. The bills are mounting, and my dad came to me for help because they are now in a situation where they are finding it difficult to come up with money for my half-sister's treatment. The thing is, I don't want to use my mother's money to pay for the treatment of the child her husband had with his other women. Though it's not my half-sister's fault, it feels so unfair when I think that the money my mother worked so hard for all her life will go to a child that neither my mother and I have any responsibility towards, and the very same child of the man and the woman who hurt her so much at that. I would really rather use it to grow her company and let my dad and my half-sister's mother figure out how to get money for her treatment. They are her parents after all. The only thing tying me to her is my father saying, "She's your sister, and if she dies because she didn't get the treatment she needs, would you be able to sleep at night? Am I the a-hole?" OP, you're not responsible for the little girl, but she's a little girl and she's dying. As a human being with feelings, don't you have the instinct to help another human being? Sure, the backstory makes this situation a bit difficult, but the child is not at fault for your father's bad decisions. What would you do if it was just a random person in need? Wouldn't you want to help just a little bit? You said you live a comfortable life, yet this child has to think about dying because the parents don't have enough money. But then again, your decision is yours alone. No one should fault you for it. Hopefully, the little kid gets the help she needs without your help. Now for some comments. Good Lord, does nobody really see the problem with using an innocent girl's life as a way to get back at your father's mistress? Instead of bending over backwards to get out of helping, just do the right thing, man. I'm sure they are not asking for all of your money, but just something to help out. You didn't like how your father and his mistress ruined your family? Break the cycle and be the better man. You're the a-hole, and everyone in this thread saying you're not is also an a-hole. Why do people suck so much? No a-holes here. Basically answer this question. If she was a stranger and someone close to you came to you and asked for financial help, what would you do? The honest answer is probably you would donate some cash to a GoFundMe or use your resources to take a day to try and help find them. But you would not outright pick up the tab, and that's fair. Heck, it's fair even if she was your sister you grew up with in your happy little family that no longer exists. At the end of the day, the real a-hole here is someone who's dying. There may be treatment, and whether or not she gets it is a product of wealth. And I'm not trying to be political. I'm just saying that you having money should not really matter when it comes to whether she lives or dies, so that's not a burden that should be put on you. And sure, your dad may think that, but he is desperate looking for something to save his kid's life. Just because you don't have any obligations doesn't mean you should throw compassion out. People here are comparing it to a random person needing help, and guess what? People help strangers all the time. You can say it's a loan, you can get that money back if it's that important to you, but I honestly believe you will regret it. I honestly don't believe that your mother would rather you live with that on your conscience for her legacy. We can't save everyone, but I firmly believe that if we want a better world, we can't live for ourselves only. If that were the case, we can destroy all the shelters and charities because we don't have any responsibility to help strangers. But we know that sounds asshole-ish. Your dad is an a-hole for cheating, but he's not an a-hole for being desperate and trying anything he can to save his child. So many people here would rather someone die for a point, and I can't understand that. You're comfortable and you will get your money back. No one can get the dead back. And the fact that so many people here act like being able to help a stranger and choosing not to is also justified because no obligation is why the rich and powerful will always win. We have no loyalties to each other as a group, and saving our own ass mentality is so destructive. No amount of ideology or money will help me sleep at night, knowing my father begged me to help save his child. And despite being able to, I chose not to. You're the a-hole. Story 2. My father lost his job about 6 years ago, watched a lot of Alex Jones' Facebook videos and has done special research. Before losing his job, we were close. These days, he probably wouldn't even get me a loaf of bread if I asked. I'll show him jobs online and he'll mention, too far, pays shit, they probably drug test. He got a call back from a place and they asked him if he uses pot, and they denied him that job because of it. He refuses to give up pot because it's healthier than big pharmaceutical drugs, or better than alcohol. He lives off government benefits, which amounts to roughly $700 a fortnight. I pay him board, and our agreement was I feed the dogs as well. I spend about $50 a fortnight for food for all 3 of them. I buy both dry and wet food, also cook for them sometimes. At the start we only had 2. He decided to keep a puppy. He had lost his job at the time. I don't mind feeding the other one, it's only a few extra dollars. I do love him, the dog. I also do flea treatments and worming for all 3. My father pays for gas, electricity, etc. After everything, he has $100 or $200 left. I buy the food, or my grandparents do. Point being, my father has $100 or $200 left but spends it on weed, so we're left to buy him basic necessities like milk, bread, etc. My dog recently had a lump removed, costing me around $2,000 so far. They didn't get all of it out, so it might come back. I have anxiety, so my brain tells me to save money in case. Now to the main issue is, his dog has a lump. It's on the outside of his body, not too bad, but still a lump that shouldn't be there. It will probably cost around $500 or $1,500 to fix. He has blamed me for giving his dog cancer. The food I gave them isn't good enough, or the chemicals in the flea and worm treatments caused it. I work and I go without a lot, so I can have a savings account for my dog and cat. I don't get to spend $150 on myself each pay like he does on pot. It helps that I don't drink, smoke, or do drugs. I do get some fun money for video games or whatever, but other things come first for me, like my pets. I have $2.5K in my savings for my dog. I'm in the position to help my father's dog, but that might mean I can't help my dog. I love his dog, we've had him since day one. The house wouldn't be the same without him. I'm torn, literally crying over it to my therapist. She says it's not my responsibility, and my father needs to take care of himself and his own issues, but it's up to me. I fear my father will just let his dog die and I will be partly responsible and hate myself. Am I the a-hole? OP, I'm glad you care a lot about the dog. You're obviously very conflicted about what to do. You can't and shouldn't help your dad take care of his responsibilities while you struggle with yours. Hopefully your dad realizes that you won't be helping and he takes care of his dog. But if he still stands on his ground, then I strongly suggest he surrenders the dog. At least so that it's in you or your partner's name, so you can feel responsible with no resentment or anger, because then the dog will be yours. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole, cut him off for a while. He needs to man up and work his shit out. It's pretty ironic that he's into Alex Jones, who I thought was anti-government, but he collects welfare. He's a giant hypocrite. I'm upper middle class, paying taxes that go to his broke ass. And then he's voting for an orange man who wants to kick me out. LOL, what the F? Everyone sucks here. Your dad is the a-hole obviously, but you're the a-hole as well. Not towards him but the dog. Yes, I understand you want to prove a point. It's not your responsibility. Your dad needs to get a job, etc. But at the end of the day, the dog might have something seriously wrong or may be in pain. Are you going to let it suffer under your roof just so you can prove a point? I would take it to the vet if your dad honestly doesn't have the money, but I would make it a clear warning to him. He needs to pay you back somehow. Make a payment plan or something so you can build those savings back up for your other dog. Not the a-hole. You've done all the right things to care for your own animals, and it sounds like how conflicted you are. If you didn't have the anxiety of something further being needed for your dog, you would drop your cash to help your dad's dog. Your dad's saying some horrible stuff to you, but it sounds as though his dog would not have survived this long if it weren't for the care you provided, and he's dodging the reality and responsibility. This isn't your fault, OP. Has the vet seen the lump? Sometimes they can exist but be benign. My shepherd had 3 the vet said they'd rather not remove because she was an old gal in no pain from them. I can understand why you're crying. What a conundrum. But you shouldn't have to be the one to help the dog. Don't think you're a bad person, please. You have the care of all those animals in the forefront of your mind.